Tonight's video is our last video talking about area and circumference of circles. And so our objective tonight is I can apply the formulas for the circumference and area of a circle to solve word problems. And on the New York State test, they often wrap circumference and area problems within larger word problems. So that's what I want to handle tonight. So let's take a look. A contractor is building the base of a circular fountain. On the blueprint, the base of the fountain has a diameter of 18 centimeters. The blueprint has a scale of 3 centimeters to 4 feet. All right, every 3 centimeters will represent 4 feet. What is the actual area of the base of the fountain in square feet after it is built? Round your answer to the nearest tenth of a square foot. Okay. So if I take a look at, this would be the scale drawing. It's a circular fountain. Tells me the diameter of that circular fountain. If I cut from one side of that circle to the other, passing through the center, the diameter is 18 centimeters. They give us a scale of 3 centimeters. Each time you hit 3 centimeters, that represents 4 feet. What will be the actual area of the base of the fountain in square feet? Okay, so now we have to take our picture and figure out the diameter in feet so that we can find the actual area in square feet, and then we'll round to the nearest tenth. Okay, first of all, if the entire diameter is 18, then we know the radius is 9. I'm going to do a few items here. I'm going to just show you in the picture how many feet we're actually talking about. Because if I took my picture and I broke it into 6 parts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I took my diameter and broke it into 6 parts, you could see that that would be 3 centimeters. 3 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 3 centimeters. Let's make sure that gets us to 18. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so we could look at this and you could just, in order to figure out how many feet in the actual fountain, every 3 centimeters represents 4 feet. So if we broke our 18 centimeters up into 6 equal parts, each of those parts actually represents 4 feet. So how many feet are we talking about? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It must be 24 feet would be the diameter of the actual picture. And what we could always do is, we could always do drawing over actual equals drawing over actual, and I use my scale, 3 centimeters to 4 feet. The drawing is 3 centimeters. The actual is 4 feet. On this side, in my drawing, I have 18 centimeters, and the question would be, how many feet is that? 3 times 6 is 18, 4 times 6 is 24 feet. So this is a visual trying to show you why, or you fall back on your knowledge of ratios, and you know now the actual fountain has a diameter of 18 feet. Oh, not 18 feet. Sorry about that. 24 feet. And because we need the actual area, I want to talk about the actual fountain's diameter. So now it's the area of a circle. Area equals pi times r squared. Well, gosh, if the diameter is 24 feet in actuality, what is the radius? All right, well, the radius is just half the diameter. So that would be 1/2 of 24. Half of 24 is 12. So my radius must be 12 feet. So our area will be pi times 12 squared. just substituting in the radius into our formula. So my area would be pi times 144. They wanted the actual area. The actual area is 144 pi. However, they want us to round to the nearest tenth of a foot. So now on your calculators, I need you to do 144 times pi. And on your calculator, there's a good chance it's going to say 144 pi. You can always convert that to a decimal by using that back and forth arrow that's right above your enter key. So if I use my back and forth arrow, I come up with 452.389, and so on. I want to round to the nearest tenth of a square foot. So here's to the nearest tenths place. So the big question, is this closer to 452.3 or 452.4? That 8 in the hundredths place says that this is definitely closer to 452.4. That 8 will bump it up. So this is approximately 452.4 square feet. So you had to take your drawing, you had to figure out what the diameter would be for the actual circular fountain, and then use that information to find the radius of the actual fountain, and then finally the area of the actual fountain, rounding to the nearest tenth of a square foot. All right, let's take a look at another problem. It says the mean radius of Earth is 6,371 kilometers. The mean radius of the Earth's moon is 1,737.5 kilometers. What is the approximate difference in the mean circumferences in kilometers of the Earth and the Earth's moon? Round your answer to the nearest tenth of a kilometer. Okay, wow. So what we have to know is we want to talk about circumference. Mean just means average, and when you're talking about long, large, incredible distances, they have to approximate. Like, we know the radius of the Earth is approximately that many kilometers. That's why they use the word average. And the radius of the Earth's moon is approximately that many kilometers. Then we're going to find the difference between their circumferences. Okay, so we know we need our formula for circumference because they're asking about circumference. So I need to do the circumference of the Earth, and then I'll have to do the circumference of the Earth's moon. And then I'll find the difference between those circumferences. So circumference is 2 times pi times radius. Because they gave me the radius, I chose to use this instead of pi times diameter. 2 times pi times radius. So let's figure out the circumference of the Earth. Let's figure out the circumference of the moon, and then we'll just take the difference. So for the circumference of the Earth, it's 2 times pi times, they give us the radius of the Earth is 6,371 kilometers. I could put 0.0 if I wanted to. And so then on my calculator, I would just do 2 times 6,371, and I get the circumference of the Earth is 12,742 times pi. Okay, so it's about 3 times that number. I'm going to leave my answer in terms of pi until the very last step. A lot of times on the New York State test, that's what they will expect you to do. So let's go ahead and take a look at the circumference of the Earth's moon. So that's 2 times pi times the moon's radius is 1,737.5 kilometers. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 1,737.5 kilometers, and I come up with 3,475 pi. So about 3 times that number is the actual circumference all the way around the moon. But I want to know the difference between those circumferences. So that means I would take the circumference of the Earth, it's our larger circumference, subtract off the circumference of the moon, and that will give me the difference. So I'll take 12,742 pi, and I'll subtract off 3,475 pi. And if I do that subtraction, I will come up with 9,267 pi. But they want me to round to the nearest tenth. So now at this point, I'm actually going to take 9,267. I'm going to multiply that by pi. I'll hit my back and forth arrow, and I'll find that that's approximately 29,113.139 and so on. But I want to round to the nearest tenth. That 3 tells me that this number is closer to 29,113.1. So my final answer is going to be approximately 29,113.1 kilometers, which is letter B. All right, so that's that problem. Let's try one more word problem. This is a pretty straightforward one. This is an extended response one from one of the previous state tests that was released. It says the circumference of a circle is 11 pi inches. What is the area in square inches of the circle? Express your answer in terms of pi. So this one we won't even estimate. So they give us the circumference of the circle, and they want to know the area. Well, circumference is equal to 2 times pi times the radius. We know our area formula is pi r squared. So in order to find the area of a circle, I need to know its radius. So I'm going to use what they give me for circumference to actually find the radius of this circle, and then I'll substitute into the area formula. They give me the circumference, so they tell me what C is. So in place of C, I put 11 pi equals, and then I keep this side of the formula the same, 2 times pi times the radius. So in place of circumference, I put my 11 pi. Then I have 2 times pi times the radius. I'm trying to solve for r. How do I undo multiplication? I undo multiplication with division. If I want to get r all by itself, I would have to divide this side of the equal sign by 2 pi. If I'm going to divide the right-hand side by 2 pi, I go to the left-hand side of that equal sign, and I divide that by 2 pi. Over here, 2 pi divided by 2 pi, bye-bye, fancy form of 1. Pi divided by pi on this side, bye-bye, fancy form of 1. And 11 divided by 2 is 5.5 inches. Now I'm going to use that radius to find the area. So area equals pi times our radius squared. I just found my radius to be 5.5. I'll have to square that. 5.5 times 5.5. Our area would be pi times 30.25. When I take 5.5 times 5.5, I came up with 30.25. They want our final answer left in terms of pi. I could leave it this way, or I usually put my rational number first, 30.25, and then my irrational pi second. And that would be in inches squared. That would be your final answer for that one. Don't lose your pi. And because they want it left in terms of pi, we don't do a nice approximation. We leave it as that. Hopefully that just helps us see what type of word problems we might see from New York State regarding circumference and area. Have a good night.